Hello, true inner work. Friends, community. I want to talk today about moving on. There's always a sense of letting go in this process, as well as this phrase. Are you trading your truth for company? In other words, am I trading who I am for a sense of belonging or fitting in? The key piece here is, if I am, it doesn't mean that that's wrong. It's just, am I wanting and willing and ready to live a life true to myself? And how much am I allowing my truth to be overrun, because that's a choice that only I can make, no one can force upon me, by maybe not really even reflecting on what do I want and need right now. And why this is alive for me right now is about 8 months ago or so, I started a group called Creative Heart. In other words, another take on a mastermind group where we'd get together, we'd share where we're at and where we're going, especially in terms of business, and all help each other. The idea is 1 + 1 is 3, right? So we're better together, no doubt. And over the course of that time, it was very beneficial for me and others there. And today I decided that this isn't true for me anymore. And I realized that last week after the group finished. And it's so easy to continue doing something just because it's worked before. Doesn't mean that it's still working for us. And then all of these little things come up. Like, is there anything I could do to change this so that I could take responsibility and then make it better for myself? Right? Similar to at work, sometimes we think, maybe I can choose to be happy and love it. But I found that in my project managing job, when I moved here to Ottawa 3 years ago, I tried that. Right? I tried that. And we do have the power to change our internal experience, but at the same time, there is something that feels good and doesn't feel good. It's not like, oh, I can just start eating like broccoli all the time and I'm just gonna pretend to like it my entire life, right? So there's this balance, right, between doing what we know is good for us and we're never gonna actually feel like it, right? When I'm using the analogy of broccoli, and doing it anyways, because I know that's good for me and I can maybe lean into that. It's not about liking it in that case, perhaps. And then there's the job, where it's like, yeah, I can choose to like kind of enjoy this as much as I can and accept this and not perpetuate more suffering by resisting it and hating it and like telling myself all these things about it. I can certainly give myself peace there. And it doesn't mean that I can't give myself peace and move on at the same time. Right, which is what I did when I was doing project managing. I realized, oh, okay, I can just really learn to accept where I am, let go of what I think other people want from me or for me, and then still I weaned down my hours and I moved on slowly over the course of a year. But back to today, it's difficult sometimes, especially when this group is a group of friends that I really enjoy seeing. It's nothing against them. It's nothing against myself. It's like I could easily say, like, should I have done better or could I have done that? These are all the types of thoughts that only create regret in us, right? These are only the thoughts that create regret. So what I've noticed is really making the distinction between head and heart, where as soon as I was done the meeting last week, I knew I'm done here. I'm done here. I don't need to overthink anything about that. There's something that tells me my time here is done. I ran a men's circle for some time as well. And I realized I would be doing this more for other people, which that's okay too. If that's your truth in that moment, and it is to serve other people, and the way that you're going to learn and grow is by serving and being with other people, that's great. So it's really important to point out there's no right and wrong here. People are always looking for like, what should I do based on what Brian's saying or what other people have done? And we're constantly looking towards models for the right way, right? And that same type of thinking is the same type of thinking that says, well, let's medicate people who have depression, right? Not always does it work. Not always is the right way. Not always is it the whole solution. Maybe it's part of the solution. So that same kind of thinking looks for what works and then says, how can I apply it here? Which is okay. Because if a model works, yeah, why not save your time? But at the same time, what's true for you? What's true for you? Do you need to learn some lessons just by figuring it out on your own? And so today, I noticed that now that I'm done and out, I continue to think about it a little bit. Like there's this part of me that wants resolution there in some way. And I've been tuning into what that might be. And there's all these little subtleties, right? Of even though I'm completely at peace in the decision, there's no part of me that wants to go back, or if they made it amazing, I would be so happy. Right? I would hope that they make it so amazing that I can be jealous and be like, wow, good for you guys. You know, there's always a part of us that wants recognition, and that really it's wanting our own recognition. And so oftentimes we're trying to figure things out or trying to want things from others rather than giving that to ourselves. So I've been just sitting with, okay, how does this feel? And I was like, oh, I'm a little sad, less from leaving the group and more sad about not using all of my power within the group because I diluted myself. I diluted myself in my services and what I knew was possible because there was this balance of, okay, well, we're friends, but we're also here to move forward powerfully on a vision, and especially in entrepreneurship. So because those lines were blurred for me within my experience and I didn't clearly decide and make that clear, then that's how what gets projected as anger. It's like, well, why didn't this, right? When really it was my responsibility to realize that. And at the same time, it's interesting to realize, you know, letting go of friends is something that I see a lot of clients I work with having a hard time with, because most people who come to see me are in some kind of transition into life. They're leveling up, right? Everything that's made you successful now is exactly what's holding you back from that next level of success. And a lot of people that I'm working with are figuring out what those things are so they can let go and they naturally level up. There's no trying to do so. It's happening because it's a transformation from the inside out. So when people are transforming from the inside out, what they begin to realize is that the people who I'm surrounding myself with are now at a different level than I am. It doesn't change the fact that I care and love them. But what it has changed is the way that I relate to them. And sometimes being with them is holding me back now. Again, really not to say that I'm bad or they're bad for needing to let go and move on. But sometimes there's growth friends and there's maintenance friends. And it feels weird sometimes for us to put people into categories, but as we continue to level up in life, this is why it's so hard. Why are so few people at the top? Because there's a lot of letting go to do, usually internally and externally, as you make that transformation. And so for me, it's not that I'm letting go of these friends. These friends are totally at my level and I love them. It's just that way of relating to each other and that meeting every week in that style was just not what I needed anymore for my growth and development. And your heart will always know and always be able to tell you that. But it's interesting sometimes how we get caught just going along with things just because, without even stepping back to think. And I think that's the key lesson here, is can we pause and step back to say, is this still true for me? Right? I've been liking broccoli for so long, but do I still in this moment? Or I haven't. Do I still in this moment? It seems like a silly example, but it's really true. Oh, I'm a writer. Is this still true for me? I've been writing for 25 years. Maybe something else is calling me. Maybe I've got caught in just doing it. Is there a sense of staleness that is coming to me? And am I trading my new truth, because in this moment, every moment is a new moment, for that belonging that we all want, right? Because the belonging is actually going to come to us. I don't need to ever try and fit in. If I stay true to myself and what I'm passionate about and keep checking in on myself, those people will continue to magnetically, law of attraction, come to me, or me naturally generate them in my life. And that's what I've seen as I continue to take those next steps. And so this process of leveling up, sometimes people call it this constant process of grieving, because it is this letting go, like snake skin. You're just shedding it away, shedding it away. And so it's important to feel the emotions fully in each transition process. And that's why I was tuning into, okay, like what are those emotions here? There's a bit of anger at myself for not owning it, not being clear, not doing everything I know I could have. There's a bit of sadness in knowing that I tamped that down a little bit. There's a bit of joy and like, wow, what's next? I'm so excited because when we create space in our lives, a lot of times people are like, well, I want to hang on to all of my stuff and all of my old friends and all these things, and I also want new people, but there's only so much room we have in our lives. So it takes powerfully deciding and letting go and saying, you know what, it's okay. These people, they might be disappointed. They might be disappointed. They might be angry. They might be sad. They might be all these things, but I need to do what's right for me. And you giving yourself permission to honor that truth within you is also giving others permission to do the same. So I let my girlfriend know this is what I'm doing, and she hadn't thought about it before, and she realized, oh, that's actually true for me too. I'm not leaving because you're leaving. I'm leaving because now that I've checked in with myself, I need to move on too, and I'm excited to create something similar myself, actually. So it's really interesting how we try and protect ourselves and each other from each other, when if we just all powerfully stood in our truth, we'd all be much more free to be who we are. And that's what we all really want. We just want to be loved and accepted for who we are, in our greatness, not just as we are, but in that power. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate, but that we are great beyond all measure. Marianne Williamson. Love that quote. So true. The more I dive inside myself, the more I see in other people, the thing that we are most afraid of is also the thing that we are most passionate about. And we will creatively avoid doing the thing that is most important to us and trick ourselves into believing, no, that's not actually true. It's like, oh, I want to I'll use an example from my life. This person says, oh, I want to do this thing only to get out of that. I want to pursue this only to get out of that. Rather than admitting, like, this is something I love, I'm passionate about, and if I could do this for a living, that would be incredible. But we protect ourselves, right? We say, no, it's not that important to me. Because then if I actually go after it, and I don't do it, and I fail somehow, then what? I've gone after, so we save ourselves from believing that that's actually what I'm most passionate about. That's what I really care about and want in my life. And so it's so hard to make those decisions for ourselves sometimes, but we make it harder than it needs to be. And that's really what I'm trying to get at here. We make it harder than it needs to be, because I could have been weighing, oh my gosh, do I want to do this? Do I not? I could have created so much suffering over this week thinking about this, but it's so clear. It's just, how long am I going to take to decide? I shot a video recently, Permission to Decide, from my book, The Power of Permission, and all about that. So I'd love if you check that out. If you are stuck in a place and you see forks in the road, that's a great video to check out. So let's bring it back around. What is your truth, number one? And are you sacrificing that truth in any way? It could be a big way, it could be in a small way, for company. In other words, am I being inauthentic in any setting just to be liked? And we all are. I do it all the time. Because we don't want to not be liked. We want to be liked by everyone, but that's impossible. And that's why Seth Godin says, who are you upsetting? You got to be upsetting someone if you're living your truth. And I'm more and more ready to do that. It's not intentionally upsetting. It's just, this is my pure truth. And I've spoken it from a place that feels good to me and right, and not everyone might agree with that, and that's okay. So he says, like, start a ruckus, essentially, right? And you start a ruckus just by standing out and being yourself, and that's the beauty of it. And then people start to wake up to this new way of being because they haven't seen that before. That's what I've experienced with people around me. It's like, oh, I didn't know that was possible. I didn't know you're allowed to do that. Or what am I doing in comparison to that? Because we're constantly comparing ourselves. So bring it back. Stop comparing for a second and say, what's true for me in this moment? You might find that you don't know. So the key is to wait. Wait until you do know, until right action arises by itself. Right action arises by itself. It doesn't come from your head. Our head's been programmed to be everything but our truth. That's why on my website, one of the quotes, briantohanna.com, if you haven't checked it out, one of the quotes is by Alan Watts. It says, the art of becoming oneself is not unlike the art of sculpting, in which the artist doesn't so much create as he chips away at what's not you. That's the art of becoming. Chipping away at who you're not, to reveal who you truly are on the inside. And really, that's the letting go process, and really being honest with that process. So I'd love to hear from you. Personally, engage with me, engage with the community. Let's talk about this. This is a challenge, right? That's holding us back from moving powerfully forward, powerfully and easily, right? That's the best part with truth, is it's easeful. Easeful in the effort, right? Not always easeful in the letting go process. So what have you experienced? What have you seen others experience? It's so easy to focus on others. So maybe let's bring it personally to ourselves. What have you been through? What are you going through? What are you afraid of in this process of living your truth and not sacrificing that for the company of others? Thanks as always for listening. Look forward to hearing from you, and I will see you next time.